Welcome back to another movie recap. Jenna, a fashion journalist in her 40s, is navigating the aftermath of a decade-long romance with Brian. A year has elapsed since she sought solace at her mother's home, yet her heart shows no signs of mending. One morning, Jenna's mom advises Jenna to go back to living as it will help her heal faster. She suggests that Jenna goes back to New York, link up with her friends and get a new job since she was fired from the old one. Jenna does as her mom mentions and moves to New York days later and gets herself a new apartment. On her job hunt, she goes to see Darcy, her competitor, who now owns Darzine, a publishing powerhouse. Darcy's girls are stunned by the presence of the great fashion journalist in their publishing house. They offer her a seat but Darcy tells her not to sit and asks her to join her upstairs. Darcy, unable to resist, mocks Jenna upon hearing of her recent heartache, since it was Jenna who once charmed Brian away from her. Well, that's not what Jenna is here for. She straight out mentions that she needs a job. At first, Darcy didn't want to employ her, but then Jenna mentions that their company's subscription model failed to launch. Jenna can help with that, but Darcy's ego still asks Jenna to beg for the position. Jenna politely asks for the position and Darcy gladly gives it to her and welcomes her into Darzine. Jenna's new job calls for celebration, so she sets out with her best friends, Billy and Elodie. The trio hang out in a bar and try to search for the man of their dreams. It doesn't succeed, so Jenna excuses herself. Some time later, she is approached by a fine gentleman, Eric. Eric compliments Jenna's beauty. They then talk about their personal lives. Eric just graduated from the University of Southern California with a master's in film. The conversation changes to the kind of girls Eric wants, and just within a split of a second, Jenna and Eric are seen kissing. Jenna professes her love to Eric, but she's forced to leave when she slips and comes to her senses that she's in a bar and trying to make out with a guy half her age. The next day at work, Darcy introduces Eric, the guy Jenna met at the bar, as his son. Eric will be working as a videographer with Jenna to create content for the subscription's relaunch. There's an awkward silence after everyone leaves Eric and Jenna to work. Eric thinks the whole thing is funny and goes on to ask Jenna if she still loves him like she confessed yesterday. Jenna relays that she doesn't remember whatever that happened between them, but we know you are just uncomfortable, Jenna. Eric tells her to chill out because he's going to keep their affair from his mom, but she doesn't agree and wants to keep things professional. The next day at work, Jenna and Eric go to meet Greta, a designer. Greta is still mourning the death of her peacock, so they had to leave. In the taxi, Eric talks about her ex, Madison. Madison is 22 and a ballerina. Eric says she is very sweet, unlike Jenna, who is old and bitter and full of bad energy. Jenna and her friends attend an exhibition. She finds Becca's design to be exquisite and compliments her on it. Billy thinks Jenna should get one for a date night and sets her up with her friend, Jimmy. Jimmy is 50 and owns a wine shop and also can read and write. Jenna doesn't like the idea, but she eventually gives in. At work the next week, Brian, Jenna's ex, sends her gifts. Eric approaches Jenna and apologizes for what he said when they were in the taxi, but also clarifies that she said that because she called him a spoiled brat in his generation. Eric then says he now knows about her past because he Googled her. While they're talking, Jenna's dress for her dinner party arrives. Jenna invites Eric and urges him to bring his friends along. At the dinner party, Eric shows up with his friends, Tim and Carlita. Before long, the man whom Billy is arranging for Jenna to meet arrives. Jimmy talks about the projects he's working on and his love for coffee. Jenna is a bit uncomfortable with Jimmy's talk. Eric sees this and comes to her aid, but it only worsens as Jimmy begins to talk about how lost Eric is because he hasn't been to his motherland. They later dance to some music. Jimmy feels lost in all this and goes to sit alone on the couch. Jenna joins him for company and they both talk about having no kids or spouse. Eric is jealous seeing Jimmy and Jenna together, so he confronts Jimmy. When Jimmy calls him son, he warns him not to call him that again. Eric's friend, Tim, joins in and mocks Jimmy's sense of fashion. Just then, they realize that Tim's lip is swollen from eating the salad. They put fish oil in the salad, not knowing that he's allergic to seafood. Jenna quickly fetches Carlita since she knows how to manage Tim's allergic reaction. Later, when everyone leaves, Eric stays behind for a conversation with Jenna. Eric asks Jenna what she yearns for and she says she wants to love desperately. Eric does as she pleases and they make out. At work, Jenna comes up with a new idea that will save Darzine. Eric loves old movies just like her, so she suggests that they make something vintage. Eric agrees with it, so they begin. Jenna calls in Remy and the designer she met at the exhibition. After their shoot, Eric takes Jenna for a walk. They continue to work on their project effortlessly until they hit 1 million subscriptions. Darcy is happy with their work. She congratulates them and tells them to work harder. Jenna and Eric are seen together in the newspapers. Eric sees no problems with it and even wishes to make their relationship public, but Jenna is worried that it might jeopardize her work. Jenna and Eric attend Mei Mei's birthday. Jenna's friend, who is mom of the birthday girl, shows Jenna who Mei Mei's ballet teacher is, Madison. Madison also happened to be Eric's ex. Eric, after taking pictures of the girls, gets into a conversation with Madison. Jenna can't contain her anger and jealousy, so she eventually approaches Madison. Eric introduces Jenna as her colleague and this upsets her. Jenna thinks Eric is hiding her, so he dares Jenna to kiss him in front of everyone. Jenna can't, and for that reason, Eric leaves. Jenna tries reaching Eric severally after the party, but he doesn't answer. When Jenna gets to her doorstep, she sees Brian waiting for her and breaks the sad news about his mom's death. Jenna consoles Brian and offers to take him home. On his way to Jenna's apartment, Eric sees Jenna and Brian together, causing him to have second thoughts. Darcy provided Brian with Jenna's address because she was upset about the gifts Brian kept sending to her. Brian asks for another chance to be with Jenna, but she gives a firm no and leaves when her car arrives. Eric doesn't report the next day at work. Jenna finds out that he's working from home and gets her friends' help to see him at his house. With Carlita's help, Jenna gains entry to Darcy's penthouse and apologizes for the way she acted at Mei Mei's party. Eric forgives her for that and mentions that he saw her with Brian at her apartment. Jenna makes things clear and professes her love for him. The two make out and stay together all day until Darcy arrives home and catches them. Jenna made a promise to Darcy not to grow closer to Eric when she sensed something was amiss and discussed it with her. Darcy then fires Jenna when she finds out that they have been a thing for quite long and sends her out of her house. Eric tries to stop Darcy from doing so, but she shuts him up and he also quits his job at Darzine. Eric later moves out of Darcy's penthouse to Harlem and begins his career. One night while Eric is heading home, he receives a message from Jenna. She wants to meet him and reconnect since it's been months. Jenna is now teaching a fashion and film course in Colombia. In their meeting, Jenna breaks the news about her pregnancy to Eric. Unlike Jenna, Eric isn't happy about it. He thinks he's not ready for it and leaves to think about it. One day while Jenna is at home, on a call with her mom, Darcy shows up. She isn't happy with Jenna's pregnancy but is willing to give her grandchild a better life. Darcy doesn't want Jenna to live in the apartment anymore. She explains that when he had Eric, her parents hated Eric's father so much. Later, Eric's dad was killed, none of her parents came for the funeral and it has been Eric and her since then. She doesn't want to repeat what her parents did to her, so she accepts Jenna into her family. Eric joins Jenna on her prenatal appointments and is happy that they're having a boy. Jenna decides to name him Otis, after Eric's dad. Eric then mentions Darzine Gala and invites Jenna to go with him. All of Jenna and Eric's friends show up at the gala. The crowd and paparazzi light up when Eric and Jenna make their entrance. Darcy approves of Eric and Jenna's relationship. It's the 8th annual Darzine Gala and her best year ever, all thanks to Eric and Jenna. The end.